February 21st marked a historic event that shapes a new system of international relations for the entire world community. Russian President Vladimir Putin announced that Russia recognizes the Donetsk and Lugansk People's Republics in the east of Ukraine as sovereign entities. "Do you want decommunization? I will show you what real decommunization is," said Vladimir Putin. The decrees were signed, stating that the decision was based on the will of the people of the LDPR and Ukraine's rejection of a peaceful settlement of the conflict in accordance with the Minsk agreements. "They are not interested in peaceful solutions. They want to start a blitzkrieg," Putin stated, referring to the policy of the current Kiev regime. The president noted that Ukraine does not even hide aggressive plans and prepares for the conflict with Russia into which it seeks to drag NATO member states. Putin called to find and put on trial and punish the persons responsible for the 2014 Odessa massacre, when neo-Nazi radicals killed and burned dozens of civilians who protested against the Maidan coup. As the massacre was supported on almost all levels of the Ukrainian government, this can refer to almost all representatives of the post-Maidan Ukrainian elites. The Kremlin issued an ultimatum to the Kiev regime. The Zelensky government must immediately stop fighting in the region and obey the ceasefire. Should this fail to happen, Putin said, it will bear full responsibility for the further development of the situation. After the ratification of the treaties of friendship and cooperation between the Russian Federation and the LDPR, Russia can legally deploy its troops in the Donbas region, as well as supply the republics with any weapons. The Russian president signed a decree instructing the Russian armed forces to provide peacekeeping functions in the DPR and LPR. During the night, units of the 8th Field Army of the Russian Armed Forces have begun to enter the territory of the LDPR. Moscow's decision has dramatically changed the situation on the Donbas front lines. The activity of Ukrainian shelling of residential buildings on the territory of the republics began to decrease and practically stopped after Ukrainian President Zelensky did not take any decisions following a meeting of the National Security and Defense Council of Ukraine. On February 22nd, in the first half of the day, the escalation decreased and the number of attacks on the entire front line sharply reduced. However, despite the confusion in the ranks of the Ukrainian army, the activity of Ukrainian sabotage groups continued on LDPR territory as well as in Russia. Earlier, sabotage groups of the UAF carried out terrorist operations on the territory of the DPR and LPR on a regular basis. Their activity has increased significantly in recent days. On February 22nd, 3 people were killed in an explosion on the Donetsk-Gorlova Highway, a representative of the People's Militia of the Donetsk People's Republic claimed. Earlier, Donetsk reported on the breakthrough of a Ukrainian sabotage group deep into the republic in the Novozolosky district. During the clash, the group was neutralized. On February 21st, Ukrainian saboteurs crossed the border with Russia near the village of Mityakinskaya in the Rostov region. They were stopped by Russian border guards. As a result of the clash, 5 violators of the border were killed and 1 saboteur was captured. 2 infantry fighting vehicles of the armed forces of Ukraine were also destroyed. There were no casualties among the Russian military. While Russia has moved into action, the West is in no hurry to support the Kiev regime with military forces, but only intimidates Russia with new sanctions. U.S. President Biden signed a decree aimed at banning investments, trade, and financing of the DPR and the LPR. The EU called Moscow's decision a violation of international law, promised to react firmly and respond with sanctions. The NATO Secretary General condemned the recognition of the LDPR, claiming that it undermines efforts to resolve the situation in Ukraine. Russia's decisive actions mark the time of the consolidation of the bloc of counteraction to the global world system beneficial to the Anglo-Saxon elites and imposed by the so-called collective West. It seems to be clear that China is on Russia's side. However, Beijing's position and the level of its support are yet to be officially declared.